Have you ever wondered why some people seem to rise with an almost frightening inevitability, as if success is not something they chase, but something that follows them, while others, no matter how hard they try, feel trapped in a loop of effort without elevation, always busy yet never truly advancing? There is a daily ritual, so subtle that it looks ordinary, and yet so powerful that it reshapes the subconscious mind, disciplines the emotions, and quietly aligns your entire being with the force of achievement itself. A ritual Napoleon Hill uncovered in the minds of the world's most successful individuals, and one the Stoics practiced long before money ever became the measure of power. When you perform it with intention, you do not merely improve your productivity, you begin to change the gravity around you, drawing opportunity, clarity, and momentum as if the universe itself has begun to lean in your direction. Most people wake up and immediately surrender their minds to chaos. They check messages, scroll through news, absorb the worries, fears, and distractions of 1,000 strangers before they have even spoken a single thought of their own. The Stoics would have called this a tragic abdication of the ruling faculty, the moment when you hand over the control of your inner world to whatever happens to shout the loudest. Napoleon Hill would have recognized it as the poisoning of the subconscious, the planting of random, fearful, and disordered impressions that shape the day before it even begins. Yet the men and women who build empires do something radically different. They begin each day by choosing what they will think, what they will feel, and what they will expect. And in doing so, they decide in advance the kind of results that will follow. This daily act of conscious mental direction is the invisible engine behind all great success. Hill described it as autosuggestion, the deliberate repetition of goals, beliefs, and images until they become the dominant reality of the subconscious. The Stoics practiced a similar discipline through morning reflection, reminding themselves of who they were, what they stood for, and what they would not allow to disturb their peace. These practices were not about wishful thinking. They were about mental sovereignty. They ensured that when the world tried to impose fear, distraction, or doubt, the mind would already be fortified with purpose and clarity. When you perform this ritual daily, something extraordinary begins to happen. Your mind starts to filter reality differently. You notice opportunities that once passed you by. You feel less threatened by obstacles. You become less reactive and more deliberate. The subconscious, now saturated with images of success and controlled emotion, begins to guide your behavior toward the very outcomes you have been rehearsing. Hill observed that people who vividly imagine their goals and emotionally identify with them begin to act in ways that make those goals inevitable. The Stoics observed that people who master their reactions to events gain a power over life that no external circumstance can touch. Together, these insights reveal the true purpose of the daily ritual, to make your inner world so ordered and so aligned that your outer world has no choice but to follow. This is why success accelerates when you commit to this practice. You are no longer starting each day from zero. You are starting from alignment. Your mind has already been tuned to a frequency of clarity and confidence. Your emotions have already been steadied. Your vision has already been set. While others are waking up confused, anxious, and reactive, you are stepping into the day with a quiet certainty about who you are and where you are going. That certainty is magnetic. People respond to it. Circumstances bend around it. Opportunities are drawn to it in ways that seem almost mystical but are actually deeply psychological. The tragedy is that most people never experience this because they never take control of their mornings. They let the world write the script of their day, and then they wonder why the story always feels the same. Hill warned that the mind left undirected will drift into fear and limitation. The Stoics warned that a mind ruled by externals cannot be free. When you begin your day by directing your thoughts, affirming your purpose, and visualizing your success, you are doing something revolutionary. You are telling your subconscious what story it will live out, and you are telling your emotions what role they will play. There is a quiet intensity to this practice that separates the serious from the casual. It is not glamorous. It does not feel dramatic. It feels simple, almost too simple, which is why so few do it with consistency. Yet those who do discover that their entire relationship with life begins to change. They become less desperate for validation and more focused on progress. They become less afraid of failure and more committed to growth. They begin to trust their own direction because they have rehearsed it so many times in their mind that it feels as real as the present moment. As you let these words sink in, you may feel a strange mixture of excitement and responsibility. Excitement because you sense that something powerful is within your reach. Responsibility because you realize that this power demands daily discipline. This is the crossroads where philosophy becomes destiny. The Stoics would say this is the moment you choose whether to be ruled by fate or to rule yourself. Hill would say this is the moment you decide whether to drift or to move with purpose. The daily ritual is the bridge between who you are and who you are becoming. And once you begin to cross it, there is no turning back. When you commit to this daily act of inner direction, you begin to feel something shift beneath the surface of your thoughts, as if a hidden current has started to flow in a new direction. The Stoics believe that the why of your life is determined by the quality of your judgments, and Napoleon Hill believed that the quality of your results is determined by the quality of the ideas you allow to dominate your subconscious. Both were pointing to the same invisible truth. Whatever you repeatedly tell yourself about who you are and what is possible becomes the law your life obeys. The daily ritual is how you rewrite that law. Most people do not realize how much of their identity has been shaped by accident. They were told things as children. They experienced small failures. They absorbed the fears and expectations of their environment, and all of it quietly settled into the subconscious as if it were truth. Hill explained that the subconscious cannot distinguish between what is imagined with feeling and what is experienced in reality. The Stoics observed that impressions, once accepted, become beliefs that govern behavior. This means that without deliberate daily intervention, you are living inside a mental program that may not even belong to you. The daily ritual is your chance to take that program back. When you sit quietly and repeat your purpose, when you visualize the life you are building, when you feel the emotions of success as if they are already present, you are doing more than dreaming. You are feeding your subconscious a new identity. You are telling it again and again, this is who I am becoming, this is what I expect, this is what I move toward. Over time, that identity begins to feel natural, and your actions begin to change without effort. You speak differently, you decide differently, you take risks that once seemed impossible. This is how success begins to accelerate. Stoics practiced a form of this when they rehearsed adversity in their minds. By imagining difficulty in advance, they trained themselves to remain calm when it arrived. Hill asked you to imagine success so vividly that it became emotionally real. Both practices shape the subconscious, one toward resilience, the other toward ambition. When you combine them, you become both fearless and driven, able to move forward without being shaken by the inevitable turbulence of life. This is why consistency matters more than intensity. A single day of visualization or affirmation changes little. 100 days reshape a personality. The subconscious is trained through repetition, not through inspiration. The Stoics did not become calm by reading one book. They became calm by practicing self-command every day. Hill's students did not become successful by saying one affirmation. They became successful by returning to their vision morning after morning, even when it felt boring, even when nothing seemed to be happening. There is something almost sacred about this discipline. In a world that constantly pulls at your attention, choosing to sit quietly with your own purpose is an act of rebellion. It is you saying, I will not be defined by what happens to me today, I will be defined by what I am building. And that choice, repeated daily, begins to create a kind of psychological gravity. You start to feel anchored. You start to feel directed. You are no longer drifting through life, reacting to whatever appears. You are moving through it with intention. As this practice becomes part of you, you may notice that your emotional reactions soften. Things that once upset you lose their grip. Delays that once made you panic become easier to endure. It's not because you care less about success, but because you care more about your long-term vision than about any single moment. The Stoics would say you have learned to value what is truly in your control. Hill would say you have learned to maintain faith regardless of appearances. Both describe the same inner strength, and it is from this strength that success begins to grow. Quietly at first, almost invisibly, then with increasing speed, you are no longer trying to force the world to give you what you want. You are becoming the kind of person to whom the world naturally responds. The daily ritual is the seed, discipline is the water, time is the soil. And what grows from it, if you remain faithful to the practice, is a life that looks from the outside like luck, but from the inside feels like destiny. When the daily ritual becomes non-negotiable, a subtle but profound transformation begins to occur in your perception of time, effort, and opportunity. You start to see that success is not a matter of sporadic bursts of energy or frantic attempts at productivity, but a steady accumulation of small, deliberate actions, each one reinforcing your vision and fortifying your subconscious. The Stoics called this living according to nature, the nature of your mind, disciplined and rational. Hill called it persistence, the tireless, unwavering repetition of thought and action in alignment with your purpose. Together they teach that the wealth of life is rarely sudden, it is the inevitable outcome of patient, consistent mental discipline. Most people chase immediate results. They wake up hoping for a breakthrough, only to be discouraged when nothing dramatic happens. They abandon goals the moment results seem slow. This is the trap of impatience, the trap that steals potential before it has a chance to mature. The Stoics warned against this, teaching that happiness and success do not come from external validation, but from mastering oneself. Hill taught that the subconscious mind does not act on a single impulse, but responds to repeated, emotionally charged impressions. When these lessons converge in your daily practice, you begin to cultivate a mind that understands time differently, a mind that knows that patience is not delay, but preparation. The power of this daily ritual lies in its ability to shape both your conscious and subconscious mind simultaneously. Each morning, when you affirm your purpose, visualize your goals, and emotionally identify with the success you are pursuing, you are telling your subconscious exactly how to act. Your conscious mind plans, calculates, and directs. Your subconscious begins to orchestrate behavior, intuition, and decision-making in ways that align with your vision. This is why Hill emphasized the importance of repeated, emotionalized visualization. And this is why the Stoics emphasized reflection and preparation, so that your reactions, your impressions, and your focus are aligned with your long-term goals, not hijacked by transient emotions. At first, you may notice only small changes. Perhaps you feel slightly more composed during challenges. Perhaps you notice opportunities you previously overlooked. Perhaps your decisions become incrementally sharper. These subtle shifts are proof that the subconscious is being rewired. Like a magnet, it begins to attract conditions, people, and circumstances aligned with your purpose. Those who fail often mistake this slow progression for inactivity or stagnation. But the wealthy, disciplined mind recognizes that transformation is always silent at first, invisible to the untrained eye, yet unstoppable when consistently reinforced. Consider the emotional component. Hill repeatedly emphasized that belief and emotion are inseparable. Faith without feeling is inert. The Stoics, by contrast, train themselves to experience feelings without being controlled by them, cultivating emotional resilience. When fused, these principles create a mind that not only believes in its goals with intensity, but also maintains the calm and focus necessary to act rationally. You begin to feel the tension between desire and detachment, and in that tension, you discover the unique power of deliberate action. You want success, but you do not panic in its absence. You act toward it, but you do not act chaotically. You are both a visionary and a strategist, both a dreamer and a stoic. This alignment reveals why billionaires and great achievers rarely appear frantic. Their mornings are deliberate, their thoughts are disciplined, their emotions are controlled, Their rituals, though simple, are repeated without fail. They have learned that success is created not in the moments of crisis, but in the hours when no one is watching, the quiet hours where intention, repetition, and emotional clarity converge. Hill called this definiteness of purpose, and the Stoics called it self-mastery. The fusion of these concepts produces a mind capable of bending circumstances to its vision with remarkable efficiency. And so the daily ritual is not a mere habit. It is the foundation of an inner architecture that defines your life. It orders your thoughts, focuses your emotions, and aligns your intentions with the natural laws of success. Without it, even the most talented, intelligent, or hard-working individual drifts, reactive and inconsistent, at the mercy of external events. With it, even modest resources, connections, or abilities are amplified because the mind has become the ultimate instrument of attraction, clarity, and deliberate action. This is why Hill insisted that success begins in the mind, and why the Stoics insisted that mastery begins with self-control. As you continue to practice this daily, you begin to notice a new kind of confidence emerging. Not the brash confidence of those who pretend to know, but the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who knows their mind is disciplined, their vision is clear, and their path is inevitable. This is the state where small actions compound into momentum, where patience becomes leverage, where clarity produces opportunities, and where the invisible architecture of thought begins to manifest in the world as measurable results. The daily ritual is no longer optional. It is the engine that drives your life, the silent force that ensures your actions and your results finally converge. Once this daily discipline becomes non-negotiable, a new rhythm emerges in your life, a cadence that subtly orders every decision, every interaction, every movement toward your goals. You begin to perceive success not as a distant event, but as the natural consequence of your repeated choices, of the invisible architecture you build each morning before the world demands your attention. The Stoics would call this living according to nature, aligning your mind, actions, and purpose with reason and order. Hill would call it definiteness of purpose combined with emotional faith. Both converge in the same principle: daily, deliberate preparation shapes destiny. Most people underestimate the quiet power of repetition. They believe that effort must be dramatic to yield results. They wake up hoping for inspiration, waiting for the perfect opportunity, expecting the universe to deliver sudden change. The wealthy mind understands that greatness is not born from a single act, but from persistent alignment. Hill emphasized that repeated visualization and affirmation impress the subconscious with certainty. The Stoics emphasized that repeated reflection and self-control forge character. Together, these practices form a mind that is internally coherent and externally effective, a mind capable of attracting success without being distracted by trivialities or chaos. When you perform this daily ritual, you begin to notice a profound shift in your awareness. Opportunities that were once invisible start to appear. Patterns emerge where before there was only randomness. Decisions that used to feel overwhelming now feel instinctive. Your subconscious, now programmed with clarity, faith, and disciplined emotion, begins to influence your behavior in ways that feel almost automatic. You act decisively. You notice connections others miss. You avoid pitfalls others stumble into. This is not luck. It is the logical outcome of a mind trained to align thought, emotion, and action with a higher standard of purpose. Emotional mastery is central to this transformation. Hill taught that fear and doubt are the greatest thieves of success. The Stoics taught that uncontrolled emotions enslave the mind. When you combine these truths, you realize that emotional discipline is not optional. It is the currency of achievement. You cannot command the future if you are constantly responding to minor disturbances, distractions, or setbacks. Each morning, by affirming your vision, reflecting on your purpose, and emotionally rehearsing success, you are building an internal resilience that allows you to remain steady when the world is turbulent. This calm magnetizes opportunity and signals to your subconscious exactly how to act. Persistence becomes effortless in this state because the mind is no longer fragmented. You do not flinch at temporary failures or delays because your inner alignment is stronger than your circumstances. You return daily to your vision not out of habit alone, but because your subconscious has been programmed to reinforce it. Hill called this the power of the subconscious mind. The Stoics called it ruling over impressions. Both teach that sustained intentional focus reshapes reality. What you repeatedly reinforce in your mind begins to dominate your actions, your choices, and eventually the external conditions of your life. The beauty of this practice is that it compounds invisibly at first. Small, consistent efforts accrue internally before manifesting externally. The world does not immediately acknowledge your discipline, but the internal transformation is undeniable. You begin to feel a quiet confidence, a sense that no matter what happens outside, your trajectory is steady. You become less reactive to other less vulnerable to disruption, more capable of seeing long-term patterns where others see only chaos. This is the psychological gravity of the daily ritual. It organizes your inner life so that success becomes inevitable in your external life. And as this alignment strengthens, your actions gain clarity, efficiency, and precision. You stop wasting energy on inconsequential decisions. You conserve focus for high-value activities that compound over time. You notice opportunities early, act on them decisively, and recover quickly from mistakes. The Stoics would say that your mind has become inviolable, untouched by trivialities. Hill would say your thoughts have been impressed upon the subconscious until they guide behavior automatically. Together, they describe a state where daily discipline, when repeated faithfully, transforms both your inner and outer world. You are no longer a passive observer of life. You are an architect. Each morning, each disciplined thought, each intentional act builds the foundation for your future. The daily ritual is no longer a habit. It is a force, the invisible engine driving your success, shaping the trajectory of your life in ways that are both subtle and irreversible. Those who do not commit remain reactive, drifting, and easily defeated. Those who do commit begin to experience life as a sequence of aligned opportunities, each day reinforcing the next, each action compounding toward a reality previously imagined, now inevitable. As the ritual becomes ingrained, you begin to notice a remarkable clarity in your life. Decisions that once seemed daunting now appear obvious. Your priorities no longer shift with every passing distraction. Emotional surge. The Stoics called this clarity the product of a mind trained to distinguish between what is within its control and what is not. Hill called it definiteness of purpose, the ability to hold a single vision so strongly that it imprints itself upon the subconscious. The fusion of these two principles produces a mind capable of operating with precision and foresight, seeing paths and opportunities that others overlook, and acting on them decisively. Every morning, when you reaffirm your purpose and visualize your goals, you are not performing a superficial exercise. You are embedding a blueprint for your life directly into the machinery of your mind. The subconscious cannot differentiate between vivid mental experiences and lived reality. It obeys the signal it receives most consistently and with the most emotional intensity. Hill understood this when he taught that desire backed by faith becomes an unstoppable force. The Stoics understood this when they taught that mastery over impressions creates inviolable calm and rational action. Together they reveal the secret of why consistent daily practice is far more powerful than sporadic bursts of effort or genius ideas. This daily alignment sharpens your perception. You notice subtleties in conversations, opportunities in chaos, and patterns in complexity. You no longer react emotionally to every external disturbance because your internal state has been deliberately set and reinforced. This is why the wealthiest and most effective people often appear almost unshakable. They have trained their minds to absorb information, process it rationally, and act deliberately rather than being tossed around by fear, or impulse. Hill would say they impress their vision onto the subconscious, The Stoics would say they do not surrender to external turbulence. The outcome is the same, a mind that produces consistent high-leverage action. Even setbacks begin to serve you. Where most see failure and collapse, you see data, feedback, and opportunity for adjustment. The daily ritual conditions your mind to interpret events through the lens of long-term vision rather than short-term emotion. The Stoics describe this as responding to nature's course with reason rather than complaint. Hill described it as converting adversity into opportunity through persistent belief and action. By practicing this daily, you develop the resilience to continue moving forward when others would hesitate or abandon their goals, and this resilience becomes one of the most potent forces behind accelerated success. Moreover, the ritual reshapes your emotional landscape. You become less dependent on external validation because your confidence has been sourced internally. You become less reactive because your mind has been trained to anticipate challenges, observe them without being consumed, and respond with deliberate choice. You begin to operate from a place of calm authority, where emotion is present but does not dictate action, where desire motivates without desperation, and where focus on long-term goals outweighs the noise of immediate circumstance. This combination of clarity, discipline, and emotional composure is what allows the daily practice to compound into profound, tangible results over time. The effect is cumulative and exponential. Each morning of deliberate preparation reinforces the internal architecture of your mind, strengthening the alignment between conscious intention and subconscious execution. Opportunities that once went unnoticed are now recognized and acted upon. Your choices increasingly favor long-term growth over short-term gratification. Your momentum builds silently, imperceptibly, until one day success is no longer a distant possibility, but an inevitable reality. Hill and the Stoics both taught that mastery is earned incrementally, and the daily ritual is the engine that transforms incremental effort into extraordinary results. And finally, you begin to realize that this practice is not just about wealth or external achievement. It is about becoming the kind of person capable of sustaining and leveraging success in any sphere of life. The Stoics would remind you that inner sovereignty precedes external mastery. Hill would remind you that the richness of the mind precedes the richness of circumstances. By committing to this daily ritual, you are not chasing luck, shortcuts, or external approval. You are cultivating a mind that naturally attracts, creates, and sustains success. And in doing so, you align yourself with the timeless laws of achievement that the greatest minds and the wisest philosophers have always recognized. Now comes the moment where everything you have practiced, rehearsed, and internalized demands action. The daily ritual is no longer a suggestion, no longer a concept to admire. It is the foundation upon which your entire future rests. You have trained your mind to be deliberate, your emotions to be steady, your vision to be clear. You have fused the psychological laws of Napoleon Hill with the ancient wisdom of the Stoics, and yet all of this power remains dormant until you move. Knowledge alone never creates wealth. Discipline alone never creates results. Vision alone never manifests unless it is enacted day after day with courage, focus, and unwavering commitment. The world will test you. It will throw delays, criticism, setbacks, and uncertainty into your path. It will tempt you to abandon your morning discipline, to chase the noise, to react impulsively. The Stoics would remind you that these events are neither good nor evil. They are neutral. What matters is how you respond. Napoleon Hill would remind you that the subconscious mind takes your repeated, emotionally charged thoughts and turns them into reality. This is the battlefield where success is won, inside your mind, in the choices you make when no one is watching, in the silent hours where preparation meets action. Your ritual is not a promise of an easy life. It is a promise of inevitability. Each time you perform it, you build the mental gravity that pulls opportunity toward you. Each time you practice emotional control, you become a magnet for clarity. Each time you reinforce your purpose, you shape your subconscious to execute with precision. You are no longer subject to chance or whim. You are becoming the kind of person who commands results because your inner architecture dictates them. Fortune does not follow the frantic. It follows the disciplined, the persistent, the mentally sovereign. Think of every morning as a declaration: I am in control. I choose my focus, my emotional state, my vision. I will not be swayed by distraction, despair, or doubt. This is the attitude that separates those who drift through life from those who rise above it. Hill called it definiteness of purpose. The Stoics called it ruling over impressions. Combined, it is a force that cannot be broken by circumstance. You are not waiting for permission. You are not hoping for luck. You are building reality itself, one thought, one emotion, one deliberate action at a time. And now, standing at the edge of this understanding, you must act. Do not wait for inspiration. Do not wait for perfect conditions. Begin today. Begin this morning. Perform your ritual, however simple, with unshakable intention. Say your goals aloud. Visualize them with feeling. Align your emotions with your purpose. Rehearse the victories you intend to create. Let your subconscious know without question who you are and what you are building. This is the sacred practice of the great achievers. This is the quiet discipline of the Stoics. This is where your power lives, waiting for you to claim it. The choice is yours. You can drift through life, subject to distraction, reaction, and circumstance. Or you can rise, deliberate and unshakable, commanding each day as the architect of your destiny. Do the ritual daily. Protect it fiercely. Guard your mornings, your thoughts, your focus. Persist when the world seems to resist. Endure when results are slow. Visualize when others despair. And in time, the life you have imagined will emerge. Not by luck, not by accident, but by the relentless, disciplined daily act of shaping your mind to align with the highest laws of success. Step forward now. Make this commitment unbreakable. Begin the daily practice that the greatest minds have used to transform vision into reality. Let your mornings, your thoughts, and your emotions become a magnet for opportunity, a forge for action, and a blueprint for unstoppable achievement. Do this every day, and your success will not merely grow, it will skyrocket. The power is within you. The law is timeless. The time to begin is now.